Welcome to the next edition of the Punk CX podcast. This episode is a two-parter that I recorded while attending the Twilio SIGNAL event in London recently, which actually took place on November the 19th. My first guest is Peter Bell, who is the VP of email marketing at Twilio. Peter and I talk about his highlights from the event, what he is seeing companies do well and right to help them harness the obvious potential of all the new technology that is emerging around us, as well as some examples of brands that they're working with, what they're doing, what challenges they are overcoming, and what outcomes they are driving. Following my chat with Peter, I spoke to Michael Binks and his colleague Paul Mowson, who are Director of Technology and Head of Product, respectively, at CarFinance247's, the UK's leading digital car finance platform. We talk about their motivations for attending the event, what they spoke about in their breakout session, their journey with Twilio, and some advice and lessons learned along the way. So that's what we have in front of us. Let's get into the interview with Peter. I'm here at Twilio SIGNAL in London. I am with Peter Bell, who is the VP of EMEA Marketing at Twilio. We're going to have a chat about all sorts of things, different things we've seen here today. But first of all, Peter, hello. Welcome to the Punk CX podcast. How are you doing? And tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So there's a sense of relief at this point because we're probably 8/10 of the way through the event, and touch wood, it's all gone very well so far.
He says, touching a marble table.
But no, look, I've greatly enjoyed the day. People came in the right numbers.
Good.
And we've not had any big issues with the practical things which, a big event like this may have. But and actually, I was downstairs earlier, and the noise of customers talking to customers, that's the magic. That's the great part. Yeah, it was wonderful.
And so, I mean, I know that we've had all sorts of people on stage. We've had from Zema Ship Chandler to Chris Curley to your good self and to a whole bunch of your other kind of colleagues, as well as a whole bunch of customers, including ING, Nestle, and then some beautiful stories from the UNHCR, which was really made me cry.
Yeah.
I wondered if you could give me an overview of some of the highlights, kind of what really stood out for you.
All right. So, but I'll let you into a secret first.
Okay.
The UNHCR video, we have an internal objective of, will we make the audience blub at this point? Because not just them actually, but Age UK, who are big UK customers and here today, they have a not dissimilar video, which is, it pulls at the heartstrings and makes you realize, actually, we also do some genuinely important work socially.
Yes.
But back to your question, highlights of the day, I think the first is I always watch the audience and have people got their heads up, are they out the phones? Because that tells me much more than the poise or the skill of the presenter.
Yeah.
And heads were up.
Yeah.
People were listening, people were present.
Yeah.
Which tells me we're telling an interesting story. And I think the maturation of our story over the past 2 years, I've been with Twilio 3 years, but I think particularly in the last 2 years, you've always had the potential to take the 3 communication channels plus the contextual data that or the segment platform is the foundation of, and create something much more important and much more useful and of higher value. And I think we're there. We've not only built quite a bit of it out at the engineering level. You heard from Catherine and Chris. You saw the demos, which are real.
Yep.
But we also heard from customers who are doing it and delivering solutions into the market. I think that's my real highlight. It's the progress we've made. Yes, the progress we still have to make because we're not in denial there. But it's much more tangible, and I think we're more able to articulate the value of the sum of the parts now, which is, look, we've got the 3 communication channels of messaging of all flavors, voice and email. And then we're able, through first-party data, to enable our customers to understand who you are, how that communication is working in those channels. Also, connect to your other line of business systems and use AI to make really smart, informed choices.
Yeah.
And that I think for us, that is that contextual part, and it wraps up this context, is kind of our secret sauce.
Right. Because I think the thing is, it was a couple of the speakers that were talking about. I mean, the contextual trust was a big theme, but that's also about kind of how you kind of interact with somebody, kind of like and how you protect their kind of like what data you gather, how you kind of protect it, and so on and so forth. But then there was also the contextual bit, was the contextual data, which was a big theme. But then that comes back to kind of also how you're using that to create these IDs, and then I go back to the UNHCR sort of thing, and they said something fantastically like, can't remember the name of the gentleman right now, but he talked about his colleagues on the ground. When you're dealing with people that are refugees that are fleeing hostile environments, who do not have any, maybe the same phone number, or kind of a phone number that's long running over kind of like time, because they're having to relocate across geographies. They don't have the sort of paperwork, official IDs, all these them in the bank accounts. So they're having to be forensic ID investigators sort of thing. And I just thought that was a really fantastic insight, because we take for granted are able to verify ID, but the ID of what we do and how we do it becomes very much part of that contextual data thing. And you mentioned it's like you're the secret source, as it were. I wanted to understand a bit more about that, because I think it's a really important thing, because it's a really important thing that when you inject it into that whole personalization dynamic, it just adds so much more to the mix.
And the secret source piece is, look, having first-party data on your customers isn't a new thing. Certainly with the cookie deprecation, all companies have made strategic investments to hold that first-party data and treat it as a strategic asset that it is. They're also using the various communication channels. My observation would be email is in good health. It continues to be used broadly. I see a lot of use of SMS for short-term promotions.
That's changing with RCS as well.
Yeah, and I think RCS we'll see a much broader set of use cases.
It was a bit like WhatsApp was being dropped into.
Yeah, exactly that kind of
email.
And I think the two compete. I think they have different strengths, but voice has been a little out of fashion, because of course for a certain generation they were dealing with IVRs, which were awful. But actually, we're humans. The first thing we're born with is language, and I think we'll see the older generation. We'll see a sandwich. Older generation and younger, will just race towards voice.
Well, it's just physically easier to talk.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're human.
Yes.
So we've got people using the channels. We've got, to a greater degree, access to first-party data. But to operationalize bringing the two together is too hard.
Right.
Which is why there are multiple companies we all interact with as consumers who have good information on us, which plays no part in their marketing communication towards us.
Right.
And we feel it and we see it every day as consumers. It's true in B2B, it's true in B2C, and it's just been operationally too hard. And I'll take segmentation, which is a classic marketer's dilemma. There'll come a point where each segment will take, let's say building a customer segment in my MarTech stack is going to take half a day, just for the sake of illustration. Okay, I've only got 5 days in the week, and I've got to finish this by Friday. So I'm going to be able to build 2 customer segments a day and have them go live in a campaign and get the communication out. So by a process of deduction, I can do 10 segments a week.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? It means I take shortcuts. Well, okay, I can't really personalize this to the degree I would aspire to, because I only do 10. And if I do more, marketing operations are going to get annoyed with me, and there's going to be more JIRA tickets, and it all compounds. So as a consequence, you end up with this suboptimal, really not that personal, or pretending to be personal, marketing communications going out. And as consumers, it's just a poor experience. It's rubbish. Which is why I think this inability to operationalize things is why, despite all the aspiration and all the noise and the hype, nothing's changed.
Right.
The opportunity for Twilio is to do 2 things. Bring the pieces together on our platform to make it much easier. And with the advent of AI and LLMs and our own use of AI in, within the platform, but also your ability to plug in your own LLM on top of it, is that secret sauce. It's our ability to bring it together and make it operationally efficient to deliver genuinely personal customer experience.
And that's kind of what you're doing through the segment?
Yeah, and segment is the underpinnings of where we begin.
Okay.
But its role in allowing us to keep context in customer interactions as they move between channels or stay within channel at a much more specific level, that's the unlock. And, our ability to understand you got cut off while trying to make a return. And when you call in, you're not greeted with a very cheery, hey, you having a good day? And actually you're really frustrated. You just got cut off.
You're like, hey, Peter, I saw you were trying to do this.
Exactly. And it's those moments that turn the experience on dime.
Yes. I mean, I think the thing is that, but I think it's also important to point out is that can also kind of work, because it can work across whether you're an opted-in customer or not opted-in customer, because actually it's almost like contextual sessions.
Yes.
As it were.
And of course, all of this, with all of this, you've got to embed your interpretation of data regulation and things across your, systems and practices and who has access to what. But I think even there, I have a really, really good example of, so you're familiar with Octopus because you live in the UK, utilities. Yes. So that technology arm, Kraken.
Yeah.
Everything they've built is built on top of Twilio.
Okay.
And Kraken now sell that technology to their competitors and utilities.
And that's something works then.
When you buy the platform, you don't just buy the platform, you buy into a business operating model.
Yes.
Which fundamentally puts the customer at the center. So when you call, that person you're speaking to has access to everything. You will never hear the words, just a moment, I need to transfer you.
Yeah.
That, for me, is how you transformative. And that has nothing to do with GDPR or any of the usual things
that's the way you start.
People say.
So let me roll back on that a little bit, because you've got Octopus and Kraken, what they're doing right. But we've seen all sorts of different reports, particularly, we're in the midst of, there's all sorts of developments in technology across the piece. Most of it's dominated by artificial intelligence and news of artificial intelligence noise. That's a Freudian slip, isn't it?
Yeah.
And lots of data saying that people have been struggling to scale the pilots and also generate significant value and ROI across their enterprises, or just whatever size of their business. What are you seeing? Because you speak to customers a lot. What are you seeing companies do right to be able to generate scale and generate the returns? Because it's undoubtedly the potential is there. Right.
So I'm actually going to use us as the example.
Okay. You're on Lauren, why don't you?
So my personal view is that the reason for the failures is people either have not defined the use case well.
Right.
Or they've made it too broad.
Right.
And it's just overambitious place to start, or actually maybe the technology isn't there. Right. I think in some quarters you've seen agentic AI interpreted as almost artificial general intelligence, and it's let's just change the homepage of our website to an LLM chat interface. I mean, one, you're not being customer focused, and two, you're not solving an actual customer problem. So Twilio a couple of years ago had the challenge that on our website we've got multiple forms which are fundamentally contact me forms. Fill it in. It might be a talk to sales, it might be a talk to customer support, but there's variations. You fill in a form. We get more of those submissions than we can get back to.
Right.
And it was a real business challenge, because it was causing problems with NPS scores. It was, potentially left unchecked. It could cause reputational challenges. Yeah. And we could not afford to hire enough people to service that, either outsourced or insourced. That was not going to work. So actually relatively early in career marketer proposed a solution, and it was a real, it wasn't quite, because you don't do it these days, it wasn't quite a server under a desk, but it wasn't far off.
Yeah.
And when you fill in that form now, 95% of the cases, it would be an AI agent, which has read your email, read that, and emailed you back.
Yeah.
That is operational in 80 countries, and it speaks 12 languages. It has an NPS score of 9 out of 10. And we routinely, even though we declare it's an AI agent, it has a human name, Issa Bell. I didn't name it after myself. I do, joke it's the most productive member of the family, and Issa works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. And we routinely get people writing, like, Issa, I must congratulate you. You're the most useful, you're the best customer agent like I've spoken to. Things. And, at first we were just trying to answer the questions. Then we realized there's about 8 categories of questions. So we could fine tune, okay, this is one of those, put it in this bucket. So then we could be more specific. So quite often we get coding questions.
Right.
So actually quite a lot of the coding questions lend themselves perfectly to AI conversation. Some of them are billing queries. Some people actually want to buy things, and we transfer those to a human, because we're not at the stage we want to risk a commercial transaction.
No.
But I think we had a well-defined business problem, which wasn't so broad. It was too complex for our first big foray.
Yeah.
And we iterated through, but the end results are fantastic. I mean, last year we took about as a consequence of this, we serviced around $4 million of additional revenue.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good example. It's one I can be authentic in terms of not talk about what others may or may not be doing, but I think it's a really good case study.
And so you think actually that it's about just being focused on what is the problem you're actually trying to solve?
Yeah.
Because it feels like what you're saying is that actually there's too many people that are a bit like throwing spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks when it comes to kind of some of the deployment or the piloting or experimenting with some of these SAI technology.
That, and they then don't have the necessary data available to the LLM that is informing the conversation.
Okay. So they don't have a quality enough data, so you end up on like garbage in, garbage out type of thing.
Yeah. So for the coding queries, we actually it actually just references our public docs,
right,
which are out there anyway.
Yeah.
But the person probably couldn't find. But by giving a very specific answer on how do I do this, how do I register 10 DLC in the US or whatever, it's quite a specific thing. Versus the person, who just has a billing query. Well, that needs access to our billing information. The data is another big part.
Okay. So tell me, which companies do you work with that you just go, they just get it? They're pushing us because they just got it, they clicked it, and they've got like, right, they understand what they want to do, and they're off to the races, and they're like, God, you push us keeping up. And so tell me about them. Give me an example of one of those, and sort of like what sort of challenges they were facing, what they're doing, and what some of the outcomes that they're driving, just to kind of help us understand what good looks like.
Yeah. So you saw some of those this morning on stage. Your biggest advocates are often your biggest critics, and that holds true.
Yeah.
So, ING, Nestle, for that matter, UNHCR, they'll have less knowledge of them as a customer. They actually typify the types of customers where they're using what we've got, but know what they need next.
Yeah.
I'd say one of the things, and this is actually true of all marketing teams, we can have the data lake, as you heard from Nestle, you can do the data lake to calculate the traits and the coefficients and everything. That then comes down today into their segment instance. And from that we build audiences, and that's all built out. But it's actually the downstream part of then getting a campaign live is for most marketing teams today, a series of Jira tickets and marketing operations, and the time to market, lead time, can often be too slow.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the next horizons. But what we're talking about there is automation.
Yes.
Which is one of the things that AI is very, very good at. And I think we'll see that resolved in the MarTech stack.
Yeah.
In the not too distant future.
And is that going to cause, I mean, it's something I spoke to Chris Kohler about earlier on. I was asking him about, we saw some of the demos on stage, and I was looking at going and talking to marketers, backsigning campaigns and everything else, and I was looking kind of quite technical about traditional marketers might be kind of slightly kind of horrified when they saw a little black box with some code in it, kind of in some of the management sort of teams.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the marketing teams have just got to either build developers into their teams and or get more technical themselves, or both, to improve the speed of execution and things?
I see some of that almost as, I see those two as one and the same. And
okay.
At least in B2B marketing, the title for that role is growth marketer.
Right, okay.
And the growth marketer is increasingly a technical role. You'd probably be good at scripting.
Uh-huh.
You know, I hesitate to use the word prompt engineering because it's annoying, but you're certainly going to be able to write script. You're not going to be a coder. And I do draw quite a delineation between those two. But yeah, we are seeing the emergence of those outside of marketing operations.
Right, okay.
I think for marketing operations, which is a classic bottleneck in marketing, despite really great people, it is a bottleneck. And I think this is one of those great scenarios where AI will be fundamental to their success and the reduction in the frustration you hear from teams about marketing operations, because they'll be able to scale and through automation. So yeah, I see more technical roles in marketing, and as I say, growth marketers.
Couple of final questions just to wrap up, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No.
So, boiling it all down, complete this sentence from: if you want to improve your customer experience, Peter says, do this.
Take some responsible risks.
Drops the mic. Thanks very much. And the final one, this is the Punk CX podcast after all. Who's smashing it? Who's moving the needle? Who do you love? You're just going, oh my God, they're just... And it doesn't need to be fancy or super tech or whatever. You just go, they're nailing it.
Honestly, I have two answers on this.
Okay.
One is, I'm a customer of Octopus by sheer coincidence.
Okay.
And, you know, they have my loyalty and trust at this point.
Yeah.
You know, trust at the end of the day represents my contract with them. And initially it's that I don't know you, but I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah.
And now it's embedded. The broader one I'd say is I love the work that ISVs are doing in the healthcare sector.
Okay.
You've got Doc Planner here today,
okay.
And we have other ISVs who do not dissimilar things. And it's one of those things. One, it has a certain amount of social purpose.
Yeah.
But secondly, like, who loves dealing with a receptionist in their doctor practice? Because they're like the archetypal gatekeepers.
Yeah.
You know, permission will not be granted.
Yeah.
Why are you calling us? And
you're like, look, no, the computer's not saying no. I'm saying no.
Yeah.
Just go away.
Yeah. And then you heard from the AI startup that are trying. You know, one of the things he said in passing was, you know, trying to drive the utilization rates up of MRI scan suites and things. It's like, so on one hand we've got people can't get access, on the other hand we've got expensive resources underutilized. And I love the work that Doc Planner and their brethren are doing in that sector, because it's important and it's making our lives just that little bit better.
Perfect. Peter, that is all I have. I just want to say thank you for sharing your time and your insight and your expertise with me today. It's been awesome.
Great. Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed my chat with Peter. Let's get started with my chat with Michael and Paul from CarFinance247's. So we're here at Twilio Signal. This is the second part of the podcast I'm going to do, just covering, kind of talking to different people around the event. I'm here with a couple of guys from Car Finance who look slightly scared. So hopefully I'll ask them to introduce themselves and they'll break the ice a little bit. But Michael, Welcome to the Punk CX podcast. Can I ask you to introduce yourself? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Good morning. So as you said, I'm Michael Binks. I'm Director of Technology at CarFinance247's. I've been with the business just over 10 years now, a software developer by trade.
Okay.
And now I look after everything from engineering, infrastructure and the data teams.
Perfect. And who's your pal?
This is my mate, Paul. He's our head of product.
Good morning, Adrian.
How are you? How you doing?
As Michael said, yes, I'm the head of products at CarFinance247. I've been with the business just over 6 years now. Worked in almost every role you can imagine across the business, started from sales, moving up through coaching, development, into management, through customer experience, and now into the product role and head of product, where I look after 3 of our core engineering teams,
Okay.
being our CRM team, so it's an internally developed CRM, our dealers and vehicles team, so working with all of our dealers across the UK, and our data science team as well, who's going into the AI world. That brings us.
Oh, the AI world.
Absolutely.
So, as I said, we're at Twilio SIGNAL in London. I just wanted to kind of quickly ask you about what's your motivations for attending the event? I mean, we'll start with you, kind of Michael. Kind of what's your motivations for the event? Because I know you're speaking. We'll get to that a little bit later. Because you get dragged into it.
Exactly, yeah. This year we're forced into it. But no, normally we're a heavy user of lots of Twilio products.
Okay.
We always try to stay at the forefront of technology within car finance, especially within the Twilio space. And so for us coming here today is kind of learning more about those new features and those new products they've got coming.
Okay.
Obviously Paul mentioned AI, that's going to be a big growth driver for us next year.
Okay.
So yeah, ultimately it's a big day of learning ultimately.
Fantastic. And Paul, what's your motivation?
Yeah, I think it's quite similar to what Michael said really in terms of where we can grow and develop with Twilio. For me, it's around how we can simplify what our developers do.
Okay.
You know, we as a business aren't experts in the communication side of it or anything like that. We want Twilio to continue to handle that. We'll be the experts in car finance. That's what we'll do.
Fantastic.
So how do we use the Twilio approach to develop and enhance that customer experience?
Okay.
Use their expertise alongside ours.
Okay. Hold on to the mic, because I know you're speaking kind of later.
Oh, yeah.
Come back, straight back to you, kind of like first.
No problem.
You're speaking, because we're meeting kind of first thing, and so I haven't had a preview of your session, so I just thought, give me a quick kind of like overview. What is he going to be talking about in the session?
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost exactly that, to be honest. So we're looking at the sort of build versus buy journey.
Okay.
And how Twilio supported us over the last 10 years that we've been with them. How we've moved from a world where we built everything was from scratch.
Well, you talked about building your own entire house kind of CRM.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Yeah. Into more of a world of what we can buy. You know, what do Twilio offer?
Okay.
How do they support us? All the different platforms. As Michael said, we're a heavy user of pretty much everything Twilio offer. So we're just, really talking about our journey and how we've brought the customer experience into that and use the Twilio products to get us there.
Talk to me a little bit about the kind of the buy versus build sort of like tipping point, because sometimes Michael, you're a developer at heart, so I guess your first kind of instinct is probably to let's build some stuff, build some things together.
Yeah.
But then at what point does it tip that you go, maybe we should build and then develop on the top of that?
Yeah, well, like you say, we've had basically developers in our business, very little sort of products and infrastructure level over the years. So it's always been about developers trying to build things and make things work really quickly. A family-owned business, which means that decisions have to be made pretty rapidly, and so there isn't time often to analyze the products out there and understand. It's just let's get going and let's get moving. But kind of as we grow up a little bit more and we begin to mature, level of build versus buy narrows a little.
The market also changes as well,
Of course,
because you've got like, how much choice have you got out there right now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but ultimately that's kind of that build versus buy was. So we built our Twilio phone platform, or I did at least years ago, ourselves. But then Flex came along. So we spent so much time building and maintaining the platform.
Right.
And things would fall over when we made a deploy. Phones would stop working. So I actually push all that back onto Twilio now with Twilio Flex. Calls, tasks, messaging. Okay. They handle all of that for us. And like Paul said, that allows us now to just concentrate on the finance.
And does that kind of change when now you mentioned the dreaded AI kind of word, and things get a little bit kind of technical, and then there's access to more systems and more capability and more possibility. Does that really then push you start feel like you're leaning on your vendors more as partners rather than as vendors kind of more and more?
Yeah, very much so. So we've spent the last 12 months trying to rebuild all our lender integrations.
Okay.
So again, they've got new features and new ways of moving applications through a process instead of us relying on the old ones. And we're trying to really build more and more automation into that.
Right.
So it makes our agents' lives and our account managers' lives a bit more simpler and a bit more efficient for them. but also actually can I then go and put an AI chatbot or an AI voice bot in front of that, which then ultimately digitizes the process completely.
Excellent. So how long do you say that you've been working with Twilio for now?
Just about. So we started on the very first day I started at CarFinance247, so a little over 10 years, it'll be 11 years in February.
Okay, blimey. And so that's some journey. Let me go back to the beginning, an origin story, I think. When you started, had the decision already been made, or did you choose kind of Twilio?
Yeah, sadly, it wasn't my decision. I can't take the claim for it. My old CTO sent me an email on the day I joined CarFinance247. We had spoke about it before. Yeah. He sent me 3 links. One was AngularJS. One was SignalR in order for us to share updates backwards and forwards. And one was Twilio.
Okay.
And it was the third one that I was like, what on earth is this? This can't be real. Completely impossible.
Right.
Well, yeah, a few lines of JavaScript and one API call. In ta-da, the phone just started ringing. And basically, we sort of never looked back after that.
Fantastic. And I guess this is the thing, is like with the technology is moving so fast. And, you know, people are talking about either the buy versus build things, and you got the AI that's layered into it. And if you go back far enough, then cloud was a thing, and then so on and so forth. And so it's just like the evolution is just well, it's kind of mind-boggling sometimes, right? And it feels like it's hard to kind of keep up. I mean, thinking about people that might be listening to this, I mean, and thinking about yourselves, I mean, what lessons have you learned along the way? I come to you kind of, Paul, first, given that you're the kind of the fresher of the two in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest lessons for me is around trying to keep things simple.
Right.
You know, I think certainly in a product world and development world, it's so easy to go and try and solve everything. You know, you get presented with 3 problems and you go and try and solve them all immediately. Whereas actually, you can do a lot of just take things back to basic, which is what I think we've done really in the last sort of 12 months with Twilio, which is around moving away from all the old world that was built, where we built the calling, we built call transfers, we built SMSs, to driving now to the world where Twilio build that, because that's just simplification for us.
Right.
And it sort of really allows us now to step back and look at the business rather than sort of just working all day to fix issues. So yeah, I think that for me is probably the biggest thing.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I'd probably answer that. It's really ask yourself, what are you good at?
right.
If you're good at voice and SMS and telecommunications, then by all means go ahead and do that. But if not, let somebody else power that bit for you. There's so many different nuances to it and so many different complications to it.
Yeah.
Do what you're good at ultimately, which for us is finance, and let other people take care of other aspects of your platform.
I love that. So it's focusing on your core capability sort of thing, and then lean on the people that are good at the things that you're not good at, and then you know, because it always comes back to what are the outcomes you want to drive, right? You talk about that sort of whole kind of customer experience sort of thing, because ultimately it's about outcomes. It's about driving those outcomes. So if somebody was coming back to you, going, where we were a number of years ago, what advice would you give them? Kind of, if they're starting off, you're like going, before you go down that track, here's what you need to get sorted before you get going. Michael, what do you think?
Are we talking Twilio based or just generally?
Just generally. I mean, you are a business that is looking to grow, mature, compete, differentiate themselves. You're thinking about kind of making maybe some technology kind of choices. It could be kind of Twilio, it could be somebody kind of else that's built on the top of that, but they're setting out on their journey. What advice would you give to them, you know, as they're going forward?
I'd probably still lean on the kind of build versus buy mode.
Okay.
And ultimately just go and have a play with things.
Right.
Every single platform these days has got a free account. Go and dip your toes in, see what it's like, understand how it works, what it's got. Maybe not just go and pick one to begin with, pick 2 or 3 from the same area or technology. But yeah, just have a play. And technology these days is amazing. AI can help guide you through it along the way. Just go and ask Copilot a question or GPT. And yeah, within days or hours, you'll have something up and working, and at least you'll know where you're starting from.
I think I would counter that with the idea of like, don't be surprised if you get lost and get a bit of a fuzzy head through the process.
Cool.
But stick with it, because you'll come through the other side actually seeing a bit more clearly, because they almost get of getting lost in order to find yourself is part kind of the process, is part of the learning sort of like thing. Because sorry, I completely get that. Just going to dive in, embrace the feeling lost bit.
That's exciting bit though, yeah?
Yeah, I was we're like, I have no idea what's going on. I need some help. And then kind of finally come out the other side. But Paul, anything to add to that? Advice?
Yeah, I think my view steps almost a little bit away from the technology aspect and more into sort of like the customer experience world and what that looks like. So I think for me it's about really understanding your journey.
Yeah.
You know, what are you trying to achieve? Your A to B.
Yeah.
How do you get there? And ultimately the difficult bit is being brutally honest with yourselves about where is difficult, where are your pain points and where do you need to improve it. We've just done something recently where we've mapped out a full journey and picking out all the pain points, and we sit there going, wow, like look at all these from a customer perspective, all these things, all these challenges that a customer has to go through, whether that customer be someone buying a car or our sales agents downstairs. You know, to us they are all customers, they all have their own pain points, and then us now sitting back and looking into 2026 next year, where do we use simplification, where do we use Twilio, where do we use AI to support those pain points and ultimately make them as smooth as possible.
And when you're doing that, kind of just if I may, when you're doing that, are you and you're mapping all that out? Is this like a massive collaborative kind of process? Or you're getting everybody involved? You're getting voices from all over the business kind of involved in that? Or how are you doing that?
It's exactly that. So it's sort of either mini operational meetings with myself and various teams across the business, and then myself, Mike, the technology teams, the directors sitting there looking at it and really analysing each point of what we're doing. Why do we do that? You know, there's still a lot of manual processes within what we do today.
Okay.
And we've had to sit back and go, why are we doing that? You know, there's some elements of this, not even AI, it's just automation. We should be able to automate this to make everyone else's lives easier, to help customers in buying the car, to help sales agents in processing the deal.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a big undertaking, but definitely worthwhile, and has definitely taught me a lot, even though I've been through the business and been through every role in the business.
Okay. Still
Still learning a lot from doing it.
Awesome. So a couple of kind of quick fire questions which are probably not on your list, so it's going to be a bit of a surprise. It says from rubbing his hands. So Paul, if somebody's listening into this, and I'd like you to complete this sentence. If you want to improve your customer experience, Paul says, do this.
Firstly, understand your customer experience from a customer's perspective, not from you as a salesperson. Actually, understand your customer experience. Once you understand it, once you've been through it, then I think you can look to improve it. And like I was talking about before, the pain points, you understand it then from a customer's perspective, not from within the business perspective.
Perfect. Michael, back to you. Somebody's listening to this and said, if you'd like to improve your customer experience, Michael says, do this. Complete that sentence.
So I mentioned it in my talk later on today, actually, especially in the world of car finance. There isn't a one-size-fits-all process. So you have to cater for every single kind of customer. And that may be one that communicates on many different channels. From our point of view, they're buying different cars at different rates from different lenders. So we can't just build one journey or one experience. We've got to build many of them. And I suppose you just need to make sure that you focus on all of those experiences. Perfect. To make sure that they all convert just as well as each other.
So hold on to the mic. Another kind of question. I know it's putting you on the spot, but this is a Punk CX podcast, and I always ask people, what are brands do you think is like smashing it right now? You like that Punk? They're just out there. They're just making the noise, doing their thing. Who do you love right now?
We spoke about this the other day, didn't we? Yesterday morning. The one that we came up with was Poly AI.
Okay.
We're using voice communication.
Yeah, I know the Nicola over there.
We had a really cool demo, I think, last time we came to Signal, where they spoke in various different language and then chucked on a little bit of a pirate accent at the end as well, those kind of things. So we can talk to any kinds of customers now. But they're really doing it well in the fact that they're really pushing the boundaries. We within Car Finance, we're watching this from afar, but almost potentially a little too scared to dip our toes into it just yet. It looks amazing, but does it really work? Yeah. How might customers feel or experience when that phone connects? Yeah. So to kind of have the bravery and the foresight to go ahead and do that is quite an amazing step for them.
Awesome. Michael, anything? Paul, anything to add to that? Any other brand or?
Again, Poly AI is the one that stood out for us. And I think for me where it's different is you look at a lot of the sort of AI companies and what they're doing now. It's all around message AI, SMS AI, text, web chat AI. Whereas Poly AI are really putting the emphasis back on the telephone.
Yes.
You know, we are a telephone business. You know, our core, we are absolutely a telephone business. So for us to move everything over to sort of like a chat and text-based AI, it's, what do we do here? Whereas Poly AI are almost sat there going, it's fine. You can still do this.
People like talking to each other.
People still like being on the telephone at the minute. So yeah, for me, they're definitely our standout.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. That's been great. I mean, you don't need it, but I'm going to wish you luck anyway in your kind of like session, because this is before that. But that's all I have today. I just want to say thank you so much. Congratulations on your success to date, your journey with kind of Twilio, and for sharing some time and sharing your insight and expertise with me today. That's been awesome.
No worries.
Thank you very much.
Wow, what a great interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Find out more about me and the work that I do at adrianswinscoe.com. Do leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you have any comments, feedback, or questions about the podcast, then feel free to send me a message to podcast@adrianswinscoe.com. And do tune in again. Thanks very much.